My name is Heng. Chinese is Umao Singh, and I'm the president of BCM Institute. Okay. Today, I'm going to talk about how we are going to implement a national business continuity management initiative. And this is a case study of what we have done in Singapore. I'm also for some of you, I used to run DRI in Asia. And I'm currently the Senior Technical Advisor to China BCM. Okay, 谢谢. Okay, today's agenda, I'm going to talk about what is the international standards. I'll talk about the planning methodology, which has just been explained, and I will share with you the national BCM initiative for Singapore and what's the lesson learned. Okay, the first thing is the planning methodology. BCM Institute has a 7-stage approach, and the 7-stage approach starts with project management, risk analysis and review, business impact analysis, recovery strategy, plan development, testing, exercising, and program management. This is used in more than 40 countries in the world. Okay, just to add on, the most important thing is all of you must have a standardized methodology, and once we have the methodology, when you are going for certification, you just realign the methodology to the BCM standard. Okay, in the world there is many standards. I will just share with you a few standards. The most popular standard now is the BS 25999. The other standard that's very popular only in Singapore is the Singapore standard, SS540. In Australia, we have the Australian New Zealand standard, 5050. In the US, we have the NFPA 1600. Now, the most important thing to note for everybody in China is that by June 2012, the world will have its first ISO standard for BCM. Okay, the most important thing is how did it start in Singapore? It started in 2003 when Singapore was affected by SARS. The government actually, after 2003, set up a multi-agency, and this agency involved Economic Development Board, the Singapore Business Federation, and SPRING. And this agency are tasked to manage the national BCM initiative. Okay, the SS540 was launched on October 2008, and the government has provided 30 million Singapore dollars as funding. By 8th of November, this whole project is actually managed by 我们国家的副总理. Next, I will talk about within Singapore what other standards we have with regarding to BCM. This is the national framework. The first thing we want to highlight is the financial institution. In Chinese, 我们的财政部. Then inside in Singapore, we have our 中央银行, we call it MAS. MAS have their own standards, which is more for the banks. And then we have the stock exchange. The stock exchange protects all the listed company in Singapore. And to make sure that everybody run together, we have this national BCM program. And this BCM program focus on corporate resiliency, and one more important thing is anyone who wants to buy things from the government eventually must be BCM compliance. Okay, what's the lesson learned when we are implementing this national BCM implementation? A lot of companies think that we are just writing a book, a paper, and that's what BCM is, to write a book, or we call it 计划书. Okay, the other one is that a lot of people don't understand that when we are doing the plan, it's not one step, it is 7 steps, 步骤, 7个步骤. And a lot of companies think it's very easy. So when they start BCM, they thought write a book and then they are alright. And that when they started, then they said, oh, it's so difficult. And that's why a lot of companies stopped doing BCM. Last but not least is because we are using a certification system, BS 25999, SS540. A lot of people do not understand that ISO standards requirement is different from BCM implementation. Another lesson learned is it happens in the whole world. The lesson is this: when we start the BCP, we will appoint one person to do the job, and then we hope that the plan works. We are in the way we are going to work with China BCM is actually to make sure that the organization have built up its competency. Let me walk you through with how we can make sure that the organization is ready for BCM. The first thing is that we always miss the internal auditors. We must train the internal auditor because we want the internal auditor to help the organization review the plan for the management. Okay, just to recap, the most important thing is to train the auditors and then train the IT people on IT 灾难恢复. We must have one person for DRP. We also must have another person for BCM. And BCM is not DRP. In China, BCM is still DRP. Okay, so 灾难恢复和业务持续的人是不同的。Okay, 然后within the company there are coordinators, and these coordinators must be trained too. Okay, 他们需要培训，也是要培训来增加他们的知识。The last one is to make sure that the senior management knows what is BCM. 那些高级职员要知道业务持续的概念。Okay, I'm quite okay. I think the most important thing which is mentioned by the translator is this. The signing ceremony today. 今天的跟 CBCM 签的合同，我们会开4个课程。这课程我会叫CBCM 跟你们自己联络。重要的是我们有专业培训给整个公司的职员。Okay, 最后的是the most important part, the last part is this: to make sure that in all organizations, please train your managers, please train your recovery team, and please train your management, because you never train your management, and that's why you have a problem with your BCM project. Okay, next learning is that when we talk about BCM, your BCM and my BCM is different. In China, when you talk about BCM, if you are from the government sector, 政府部人, you are not talking about BCM, you are talking about EM. When you are talking about 你是总部 and 你的your other companies is having a disaster, 你是在做危机管理。This whole concept, we must come and speak the same language. Okay, so and this is what CBCM and BCM will be coming together to develop this. Next lesson is most countries start their BCM because of a disaster, and when there's a disaster, that's how we start our BCM, like in Singapore. The problem we have was we don't have the momentum. After SARS, we continue to implement, and unfortunately in 2009 we have gone into recession, and all the companies are focusing on survival and they stop their BCM. If you are the government, you do not want to increase the cost of business. because once you increase the cost of business in Singapore, we are a democratic country and the government will lose votes. And another problem we have was the small and medium enterprise are actually not interested, even though we give them money. They are not interested because they are interested in making more money. And in Singapore, the small and medium business will be 70% of the Singapore economy. In any country, it's the same actually. Okay, the other lesson we learned is everyone wants to start with BCM, but they don't have knowledge. So they try their best to do it. And they think that doing BCM is doing an ISO 9000 project. And ISO 9000 project is to document a document, and that's all. What other lessons we are having in Singapore is that terrorism continues to be number one in Singapore. And this is unfortunately something that Singaporeans are not interested until we get the first bomb in Singapore. We are also quite lucky and unfortunate. 我们lucky 因为我们新加坡没有灾难，没有大的灾难，只有在 Orchard Road 有点淹水。Okay, good. Because of that, the people in Singapore are actually not interested in doing BCM. In summary, if anyone wants to start BCM, maybe you should have a checklist to say, have I done my BIA, recovery strategy, and so on and so forth. Before you start, then you know what you do not know. Okay? With that note, thank you. 谢谢。